Welcome to the Young and the Wrestlers, the Pop Culture's WWE podcast. Once again, I am your host, Ryan Betson. You listen to the show every Friday morning at 8 a.m. on your podcast services, 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. And if you want to join that wrestling conversation, head over to facebook.com/group/thepopculturists, the Discord, the Twitters. The links are in the description below. Come and chat to us there. If you want to join the wrestling conversation as it happens, head over to patreon.com/thepopculturists, and at any dollar value, you get yourself a nice little sneaky link where you can come and watch us do the show live. Now I say us because there's two of us, but we'll get to that in just a moment. But if you want to support us in a more one-off fashion, you can head over to thepopculturist.com/shop where you can buy shirts like this and other assorted shit with our logos on it. And of course, we are also on Twitch, twitch.tv/thepopculturists. And that is right, ladies and gentlemen. That is right. I am by myself once again. So the problems that Jem was facing last week with her vehicle have continued into this week. I don't know. I won't get into the specifics because it's boring and it's emotional for Jem because Jem is here in the chat tonight. She couldn't make it in person. She's making it in the chat, so I'll be sure to read her hot takes as they come through to me. Anyways, how's my week been? I hear you not asking. My week has been okay. It's been a pretty solid week. I've done a lot of wrestling chats this week because if you want to hear me talk more about All Elite Wrestling, I did make an appearance on Dash Culture Wrestling. I think the episode went up on Wednesday where myself, Buddy, and Dirt Sheet Dash all have a chat about All Out and what we thought of it, what we thought was great, what we thought was bad, whatever. Now, if you watch the video version, my video is anus for some reason. In terms of streaming through to Discord, it shit the bed. However, I'm streaming to you guys right now, and I seem to be having zero problems whatsoever. So, I don't know. Discord might just not be liking it. And that's fine. But outside of that, it's been a pretty chill week. Nothing too amazing has happened. Nothing too bad has happened either. It's been nicely coasting through. I'm trying to think, what else have I done? Not a whole lot, really. No, it's been straight up boring week. It's just been working, watching the wrestling. I don't think I played any games this week either. No, I haven't. What has this week become? No idea. But anyway, let's get into the show as we normally do. We're going to kick things off with... Jesus Christ. Monday Night Raw. Now, I know we've discussed this in the past. We are still up in the air about what's going to happen when SmackDown moves to Tuesdays. It does put a spanner in our work. So... if you look at it this way, so we have Raw on a Monday still, so that's a Tuesday for us. SmackDown moves to Fridays, which is Saturdays for us. So we would have to switch the order. So normally we do Raw first, then SmackDown. In the Rook, we have to do SmackDown Saturday, and then Raw on Tuesday. And we can't record multiple days a week. So if anything, we would record the shows Tuesday night, if not Wednesday. But even then, that's 4 days after SmackDown airs. I'm unsure how we're going to make it work. We do desire to always do the shows here in the studio, but with the change, then we may have to look into doing it as an online only, maybe by video or something. I'm not too sure. Just because that time between SmackDown's airing and the day that we would probably record is kind of big. So I don't know how we go, but the safest bet would be doing 2 shows, but I don't know how that's possible. If you guys have any ideas, let me know. Because Tuesdays I'm at work, and I would have to try watch it at work, which is not always 100% possible. And Jem's at work as well, and she has no chance of watching it at work. And if you watch it Tuesday nights, we have to record Wednesdays, but Wednesdays is the stream night. So potentially we could push the stream night to a Thursday, sort of make up, and then have the recording on it. There's a lot. It's a lot of things to balance. Lots of checks and balances. Make it work. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we'll make it work. Monday Night Raw this week did take place in Baltimore, MD. I think it was MD. I don't know where Baltimore is. I have a rough idea where it is approximately. I think it's on the East Coast. Yeah, I don't know where though. It did kick off with Braun Strowman making his way into the ring. It is for the Clash of Champions signing, for the contract signing for the Universal Championship match against Seth Rollins. So understandably, once Braun makes his way into the ring, does use good hands, Seth Rollins does make his way in. Now in the ring, there is a table, 2 chairs, a signature thing, a pen is what I was looking for, a pen, and a contract. With Michael Cole standing there being all dumb Michael Coley. So as they both sit down, they're being amicable. They both shake hands with Michael Cole, which is a little weird, just because reasons. Because it's Michael Cole mostly. Then Michael Cole tends to sort of ask them about the, just sort of like, hey, what are you guys going to do? That you have to defend not just the tag team championship, but then you've also got to work, then verse each other later in the night for the Universal Championship. Like, there's a lot there. How are you going to make it work? Seth's all like, nah, it's cool, man. It's absolutely fine. I'm going to go in double champ, and I'm going to leave Clash of Champions as your double champ. Braun, not too happy with this, of course. Oh, Nathan's here. Nathan Kuma said in the chat is right now, Jem Killer. Nathan, awesome. So he's like, nah, bro, I'm Braun Strowman. I'm going to come out with 2 belts because I'm Braun Strowman. Let's see. But there's a bit of discussion about Seth being like, look, you may think you're going to come out double champ, mate, but ain't going to happen. Got to remember, I am the Beast Slayer. I have, in fact, slayed the beast that was Brock Lesnar. You, my friend, have failed to do that. Multiple occasions. Braun Strowman was stung. He's like, oh, right in my big man buff chest, hurt my feelings. Then AJ Styles in the OC come out. He comes out and he's got himself a microphone. He's ready to cut some beastie little promo. He talks about how it's kind of bullshit that both the OC and Braun and him, are not getting these title shots. He goes on about how Braun Strowman just looked at the Universal Championship, and apparently for him that is enough for him to be like, oh, I drooled over it, now I get a shot. His argument is that as the United States Champion, shouldn't he be next in line to have a go at the Universal Championship? Now, part of that kind of makes sense to me. So I was also under the impression that the mid-card belt was a good sort of stepping stone into the main event scene, or you just say that be the strongest as the mid-card. I'm not too sure, but it is kind of a cool idea to then have him step up into that. But it's also, I don't want to see AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins, Braun Strowman versus Seth Rollins, way better. He does make his way into the ring, and Michael Cole's there being all like, hey AJ Styles, this doesn't involve you, can you not be here? And then AJ Styles like, shut your mouth, Michael Cole, come in there and punch your teeth in. And I literally wrote here, the best thing. I absolutely loved it. AJ Styles totally called the fuck out of Michael Cole. Loved it. It was absolutely fantastic. So they get into the ring, and then no one's really kind of doing anything. It's almost like a little bit of a stalemate. Everyone's in, everyone's standing there ready to go, ready to punch each other. And then Braun Strowman just throws that table into AJ Styles' face. He drops like a sack of shit, and then that's just punching. Everyone's just going a ton. Punch. Actually, as I should mention though, before the table did get flipped, AJ did rip the contract because he's being all rebellious, and it's the OC that he had to run amok and just be dickholes within the wrestling space. So they flip that shit into his face, and then they just start bussing, punching. Ad break. We come back, and apparently this is a match now. So it's EOC versus Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman with AJ ringside. Before you get into this, like, this whole segment Really enjoyed it. I really like some of the on the nose shit. Just like, talking about the idea of looking and drooling over the belt. I thought that was a really cool touch because that's something that we talked about as well, whether it was on air or off air. I can't remember, but it's just like he's looking at the belt like, I'm gonna eat the fuck out of that belt. So it was very cool to sort of then be at least mildly self-aware enough to be like, that's kind of weird. Just because he looked at it, that means he gets the shot. Whatever, sure. Fine by me. Jem in the chat did say, Mark Cole with his BS, you have no business here. Get the fuck out. And Nathan says, I'm here for you. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. It's been doing solo shows is very hard. I know there are people that do solo shows, and I don't know how to do it. It's very difficult. I find myself stumbling because normally when I'm having a discussion with the two of us, I have moments where I can sort of preemptively articulate my thoughts, or at least plan my sentence out slightly. So there's, notice there'll be a lot of ums, ahs, mispronunciations, or hesitation, because there's this desire to not leave dead air. As I leave dead air for a second. But Jem points out it's a great way to open a show. It was a great way to open a show. I really dug it. It did feel like it went a little long, but I also enjoyed it. I think AJ really brought it home. The promos here felt natural. AJ felt like the way the delivery, the hesitance from AJ sort of demonstrated that it wasn't scripted, or at least he was given guidelines or bullet points rather than giving this is a front to back script, read it exactly as it is, which we know previously was the situation. Hang on, my child's coming in. Just like AJ Styles, my son is breaking in, causing havoc. As long as he doesn't rip up my contract, I will be all good. What are you doing, buddy? Are you dancing? Oh, and you're falling over. All right, my son's doing weird things down the front. I will keep going with the show. Pardon? You're broken? It was. He did break that contract. He threw the table. I'm sure that table's broken. Speaking of broken, we did get into the tag team match, as I mentioned, of the OC versus Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman. It was an okay match. There was some interesting stuff here. There was a lot of Seth Rollins not willing to to tag in Braun. There's almost a very strong reluctance to do so. He kind of, it wasn't as if, it wasn't as if the OC were pulling him into the corner and sort of locking him away, sort of isolating him from Braun. He just wouldn't let it happen. There was a time where I believe it was Gallows sort of just kind of kicked Anderson had tapped in Gallows, a fresh Luke Gallows. So it was like, why don't you tap in Braun Strowman? He's a big dude. He can take a big old dussin and it wouldn't be too much of an issue. Yes, buddy? You want the wrestling belt? That's the women. That's the women's champion. Yes, buddy. Daddy. Yes. You want to wear it? You want to wear it? Daddy's wearing it. Oh, Daddy has to wear the women's championship. Okay. Sorry, I am now the women's champion apparently, according to my son. So there you go. So that in terms of the storytelling, that was about it. There was some ringside stuff, which we'll get to that in a minute. So it did. Oh. You gonna go to Mummy? Mummy will show you how to put it on. So he's found my little collection of toy belts. They were meant to be on display on the wall, but I can't seem to get them to stay up. So yeah, there we go. Women's champion. The win did go to Seth with a roll up on Anderson. I believe there was some interference from AJ, but it didn't cost him the win, so that worked out not too bad. But during this scuffle, there was a bit of bullshit on the side, where there was, the second the bell rang, AJ Styles was in there and he was just going to town on Braun. So it was a very. You want to wear the wrestling belt? Yeah. All right, hang on. Let me keep talking as I'm doing it. So AJ, you want to be the Universal Champion? Okay. So yeah, as he was, this is a very difficult show to do when there's a child in here demanding wrestling belts. Buddy? Okay, Daddy will wear it. So Daddy has to do it over the shoulder. All right. You want to wear it? All right, please hold everyone. Hey, boy. Yeah, come here. All right. There you go. You want to go show Mummy? No. So the OC and they all start just busting the ring, focusing very heavily on Braun Strowman. Whenever Seth did get involved, it was very much like getting him out of the way, focus on Braun. So during this bit of kerfuffle, Braun did able to get away and did his little run around the ring where he hip and shouldered some people, and during the process he did in fact hip and shoulder Seth, sort of knocking him into the barricade, really just getting up in the... Well, he's having a good time. So sort of collecting Seth, and that sort of gave a moment for Braun to stop and hesitate and be like, holy crap, what have I done? What is this? I don't, during this whole kerfuffle, I didn't mean to take out my tag team partner. But as that happens, in comes Bobby Roode and, Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. And they all get in on the action and start wrecking on Braun Strowman. OC get in the same. They come and start punching. Yes, buddy. Can you please go and go see Mummy? Oh. No, you're making this very difficult, buddy. I love you. Itchy. I'm not itchy. Why am I not itchy? Because I'm not itchy.
Is it owies?
And there's no owies.
Does it hurt?
No hurt.
Why not?
Why not? Oh. Oh, I love you, buddy. All right. I'll see you later.
See you later.
Okay.
Bye, Daddy.
I love you, buddy. Bye.
Bye.
Look, it's, how shit am I? My son loves me and wants to hang out with me. What a bum. So they come ringside. So Rudolph, as I've heard them be called on the internet. Rudolph come in, start doing the punch on, and then OC come in, help him out, throw Braun into the ring, and then they start doing sort of a consistent 5-person beatdown because AJ gets in there as well. Push, punch. So that was all well and good. Seth Rollins did come in there again, and then he just gets instantly wrecked and thrown to the side. So then Rudolph assists the Good Brothers in getting a sort of a 4-man magic killer, while Seth's off to the side just sleeping. Then they pick him back up. AJ comes in with a big phenomenal forearm. Really just goes to Pound Town on sexy on Braun Strowman. So I think where they're going with here is just like the idea of like, dude, you let this happen to me. Like, why did you let them kick the shit out of me? I thought we were a team. Father of the year, says Nathan. Hardly. And Jem does like Rudolph. I think Rudolph is a good name. What the hell is my handwriting? What the hell? Oh, they did, because for September it is pediatric awareness month, sort of pediatric awareness month, whatever. So they did have a lot for Connor's Cure coming back over September. So it's good, really cool little thing that they did. The little foundation they created not too long ago, just sort of helping raising money for kids in need. As a father myself, it hits home when I see stuff like that. So. It's very nice when they do stuff like that. Next up was a backstage interview with Cedric Alexander. He's having a chat to Charlie, I think it was, and they're like, "Hey, you've got your match tonight, or something, or tomorrow, or whenever the hell day it was." No, it was today. He's having a chat. Hey, so you got your match against Baron Corbin later. What do you want to do? OC clearly pissed. From their altar counter before, and they're just hyped up. They're just piss and vinegar. They're just adrenaline. So they run their way through, and they just fucking jack Cedric. They just come in, wreck him, put him down, pick him back up, throw him into the barricade, and anyone would think you just like stab Cedric. He was just like just shitting and breathing and hurting and pain. Having a really crap time. He looks like he'd been seriously hurt. I did like this as sort of an idea of, the OC coming and just wrecking shop after sort of, being like mischievous children coming in being like, hey, what's this? What you going to do now? So it would have been nice if they continued that throughout the rest of the show. However, they didn't. So I do think they're probably setting up some potential post King of the Ring, AJ, or at least the OC and Cedric. I think they've kind of scuffled in the past before. And obviously Cedric's popular enough within WWE to sort of be being put into the King of the Ring competition as a whole, sort of shows some strength in him. And win or lose, it looks like he is getting some time to shine. And I think he'll be able to take advantage of this altercation with the OC and push forward to sort of get a shot at a belt. Maybe looking at comparing to AJ Styles, I don't think Cedric maybe have what it is to come out as United States champion, but they could have at least a good altercation. I think they'll have a pretty solid little match for a while. Then for some reason, I guess that's why Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode were hanging out, because they then had a match against Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. It was a very, very quick match, as to be expected with Hawkins and Ryder. It was fine. It was just kind of showcasing what Rudolph could do ahead of Clash of Champions in 2 weeks. It was very impressive. So the commentary was sort of putting this point in place that they do almost work as individuals. They're not really a tag team in the traditional sense because they have sort of been thrown together. But for that reason, they do sort of have some positives, as in they kind of go hard is what I think what they're sort of implying. But the win did go to Bobby Roode. He did drop him with a glorious DDT. I do think there may have been a super kick to a glorious DDT, so there is some tag teaminess there. But it's very, very cool to see Robert Roode on TV, and I've got to stop calling him Bobby Roode. It's just a bad habit on my part. For the longest time, that's what I knew him was. Next up was a women's match. It was Lacey Evans versus Natalya. It was actually pretty cool. So as Lacey Evans walks in, she gets about halfway down the ramp. Natty's music kicks in. She comes in ready to fucking rock and roll. We get all up in Lacey's business, but then they start going to town. This match was surprisingly better than I anticipated. It was given a nice bit of time. I felt like it was kind of a longer in a good way. It did end, in fact, with Lacey getting the win, but it was a sort of a slightly different win. So she, as she normally does during the match, she pulls out a handkerchief, dampens her sweats. She goes, normally she'll kind of like put it aside or like throw it when they're down, but Natty was still up at this point. She just throws it in Natty's face, and he's like, what the fuck? And then throat slam with the woman's right. Bus, Nat's down. 1, 2, 3. Lacey Evans was the winner of the match. It was pretty on point. I kind of enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. I like, there is something like Lacey Evans does have a charm. This could just be Stockholm syndrome for me personally, but I enjoyed it. By her not being in a title picture, and her just being there and working alongside someone like Natty who will push her to her limits within that ring. So although Natalya may not always come through with the win, she is incredibly good at pushing other superstars within the ring to sort of get that good performance out of them. And I thought she did that here as well. Jem does jump in the chat and says that an aggressive Natalya is great. That it is. I think it is pretty damn awesome. I did enjoy her giving her red hot go. I felt like her hair, it's a random side discussion, I think her hair or something was different today because she looked kind of different. I don't know what it was. Something about her looked different. Oh, I dug it. Next up, we get Becky Lynch. She makes her way into the ring because she is going to be commenting on Sasha Banks and what she has been up to in the last couple weeks. So she comes into the ring and starts having a chat about Sasha Banks and how she, picked up a ball and went home, and she talks about, in her time in NXT and how when they came up from NXT, Charlotte, Sasha, and Becky were around at the same time, but Charlotte and Sasha were just given shit as they happened. Becky had to fight and claw her way to get to where she is now. Talks about how Sasha, with the talent that she does have, she really should be in the same spot as Becky, because it's just like Sasha's point was, I should be main eventing WrestleMania, and Becky agreed. She's like, yeah, Yeah, you should be, but you're not. I am. I earn my way here, and someone with your talent like that, you should be, but you're wrong because your attitude's fucked. So Sasha does come in and responds to Becky's promo. So about just sort of kind of reiterating some of that stuff. Becky's like, well, if that's the case, man, if you want to go meet, let's go right now. Let's make this happen. Let's do it right here in Baltimore. And Sasha Banks is like, nah, mate. Nah. I do this thing for the money. Unless I get paid top dollar, I ain't getting none of this done. So I'm going to challenge you for the Raw Women's Championship at Clash of Champions. I get my dollars. I'm going to get me that belt. And the exact quote was, Clash of Champions, you'll become the boss's bitch. I liked it. It was fine. Very similar to what we saw earlier in the night. These promos felt straight up brilliant. In terms of delivery, it felt very natural, and it did feel kind of the way it sounds much better than my delivery right now per se. Like, although I'm working off no script like they are too, and I have mild guidelines within my head, the delivery was really on point. I thought they did a really good job. But Jem says Sasha channeling her inner Dolph with the "it should have been me." Yeah, I guess so. They've kind of gone that angle, but unlike Dolph, who sort of popped up out of nowhere claiming it should have been him, Sasha Banks does have that a little bit of history within her, released recently, to sort of justify that setup. Now, granted, she had been away since WrestleMania, so she hasn't earned her time between now and then. However, her history does dictate, or recent history, does dictate otherwise. Now, on top of that, Sasha does have a history of turning up to pay-per-views and losing, so I'm not quite sure what that means in the grand scheme of things. She's really good at winning belts off show, hey, my son's back. Hey, buddy. Oh, you're in your Batman jammies now. You changed, so you're in your jammies. Very, very cool. So we're going to see that match. I don't know how it's going to go personally. I do think Becky would kind of retain for a while. She has since since April, I guess, and we're now hitting September, so that brings it about a 5-month window. She's done pretty well with the championship belt so far. I do think if anyone was to take it off her, it would likely be Sasha Banks. I think the storyline would be brilliant, and I think she does have the potential to be the one to dethrone Becky. I suppose that'd be a lot of fun. Excuse me. And as they finish this section, we get, I believe, the only shot of the Street Profits. Now this time they're a lot more simple. Those kind of had shock face, looking at me like, what do we say? What do we say after that? They're like, we say nothing. We go to an ad break. 3, 2, 1. Pew. Weird. Why the fuck? Is this hype building ahead of? Dershi came through ahead of NXT making its way to USA Network, probably. But it's kind of not helping at this point. I think they may have pushed what they could do with the Street Profits without getting them in the ring. We do know that they can obviously go, seeing as we did see them with the belts in NXT, but for some reason they're not having them wrestle here. I assume that's for a reason. But with the wild card rule and the Blaze, and that apparently is still in place, why can't they wrestle? Next up, Baron Corbin versus Cedric Alexander. Now, Baron Corbin comes out and he gets his grubby little hands all over that crown, that scepter, and that throne. He's just like seconds away from rubbing his dick and balls all over that thing. He is just getting all up in it. Now, history dictates that if someone does get their business all up on said Money in the Bank briefcase, said belt, said King of the Ring gear, then it's going to go bad for them. That's what history dictates. Now, prior to the match, that's what happened. Now, Cedric did come in as well. He didn't touch it. He looked at it and kind of made his way to the ring. This match was also pretty good. I did enjoy it quite a lot. Once again, I like Corbin. He's a despicable heel, and I do enjoy it. But he can also sort of go. I I think by not having him in that main title picture, pardon me, is helping him. It's giving a bit more of a different shot. I personally do think that Baron Corbin will be your king of the ring, but we'll get to that in just a moment. So Baron Corbin did the smart thing, did focus very heavily on the injured shoulder of Cedric Alexander from the hands of the OC. I enjoyed that a lot. There was some deep six. There was a bunch of other little movies. He did a little ducky weavy thing around. Cedric did a lot of high fly thingies, which was kind of fun. But it did end in a win to your future king, Corbin. King Baron Corbin, with an end of days. Absolutely loved it. The internet seems to be mad about Baron Corbin having the win, especially if you go to the subreddit Squared Circle. People aren't too happy about it. You will find some threads where people are very open to King Corbin. I was about to make one, and then I found one, so I just commented on that. A lot of love for King Corbin there. People won't admit it, but he is potentially the best person to win that. Because if you have a look at the other matches, so who's left at this point? So at this time of recording, at this time of the show, we had Joe and Ricochet. Now, obviously, with Ricochet being King Ricochet on the Twitter, this is prior to the King of the Ring. He said this for the longest time. The easy win is there. Saying that though, the angle could be like, you're King Ricochet on social media. No, mate, you ain't king of shit. Then the other side, we have Elias and Ali. I assume you'd assume Ali was going to come through at that point, but even then, would Elias? I think Elias would bring something cool to King of the Ring. I feel that the King of the Ring should be heel. It feels like a very good heel sort of role to have. And then who else is on the other side with SmackDown? We'll get to it in a minute. Don't worry about it. So it's not too much for thought. Next we get a video package of who tried to kill Roman. It's sort of a catch up package of see where we're at, and then be like, Daniel Bryan still demands an apology. Be sure to check in a SmackDown to hear it. Then we get a backstage interview with Bayley, sort of asking her about Sasha and what's the dealio. And Bayley's like, look, not answering your questions. I'm not feeling it. You're not getting it from me. So I like where she's going there. It's like it's mysterious. It alludes to what happens at the end of the night. Next we get the Viking Raiders versus another set of fucks. Now there is some difference here. These fucks did get interviewed. They had a chat, and that because these guys were from Pittsburgh, which is obviously a rival to Baltimore. So when they've come in, they've sort of done some very cheap crowd work. Be like, town sucks because we're from this town, blah blah blah, whatever. One guy looked. There's someone he looks like, and I can't remember what it is. It's. You know those online videos where there's that really big guy, he gets hit in the groin a lot, and there's that really skinny stick kid with long hair, look like that. The other guy looked like Honky Tonk Man. I also want to mention now that Corey Graves absolutely demolishes them on commentary. His insults, were just on point. He was absolutely fantastic. I straight up giggled the whole time, and I think that might be the big difference here. Is like there's something about it. I think the interview kind of gave him it gave you a little bit of time. Pardon me, to process who they were. So rather than them just normally being generic pricks, when a name splashes on the screen, you pretend to care about these people. There was a little bit more here, and that is slightly a more reason to care, and a bit more of characterization as well. So when the Viking Raiders did come out, they kind of shit the bed and they bounced out a little bit. Snuck away out of the ring, being like, "Oh man, we made a horrible decision here. Like, why did we agree to take on the Viking Raiders? All they do is mush fucks like us. Why did we accept this?" Viking Raiders come in, straight up mush their faces in. The Honky Tonk Man kind of got thrown out to the side, didn't do a whole lot. Poor little skinny long haired dude got his fucking ass handed to him. He did get the pin. Did go to the Raiders after a Viking experience. What they essentially did is they straight up just threw the guy into the air, brought him down for the big old slam by Ivar. Probably one of the best Viking experiences I've seen, and I kind of enjoyed this match a little more than I normally do. Once again, I am pretty confident this is Stockholm Syndrome here. I think it's just because we've seen this so much, and this is slightly better than the shit we've been looking at. I'm like, it's passable. It's not the worst thing I've seen the Viking Raiders do. Man. But it's also straight up bullshit. Straight up bullshit. The Viking Raiders are still doing this. I can't believe I have to rant about this again. Like, we saw them have a tiff against the OC in that fucking tag turmoil thing last week. Why not continue that? Like, granted the OC want the belt, but who the fuck cares? Like, get them to punch the Raiders. I understand they don't want either of them to lose, but the OC have lost a ton of times. Get them into a fight with the Viking Raiders. Viking Raiders wreck them. Then the Viking Raiders can come in and take those belts. That's a much better outcome. Then once Rudolph is out of the picture, once Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins are out of the tag picture, the OC come back being like, well, these guys aren't around anymore. You have the belts. We want those belts. Your gimmick is dumb. We are better. We are the OC. Let's have a fight. Reasonable process there, I'm thinking. I think that's 100% what it should be. But it wasn't the worst. Next up, Samoa Joe versus Ricochet, once again for the quarterfinal of the King of the Ring. This is a good match. Credit to Joe. Joe went straight for the legs of Ricochet, trying to, ground the high flyer, with Samoa Joe being the bigger dude. For him, it's very important to get these high flying guys on the ground, tussle with them, keep them low, that way he can, do the likes of the clutch and just sort of keep those heavy brawler-esque setups. Pretty solid. It was absolutely awesome match. I really enjoyed it personally. Samoa Joe does get busted up at some point. But yeah, no, it was really good. Really good. I enjoyed it a lot. The match did end with Samoa Joe holding Ricochet in the Coquina clutch on the top turnbuckle. So he had him in the clutch. Ricochet was about to gas out. Burst of energy. He then boots it off the turnbuckle, off the post, launching both of them back. They both hit the deck hard. They are both clean out. So next thing, ref comes down. 1, 2, 3. Both of them lying down. Each of them have an arm on each other. Technically, they both win. Technically, they both lose. So the ref, in his confusion, does the 3 tap, be like, oh shit, hang on, because he couldn't pick a clear winner. Rolls out of the ring, comes out, grabs a headset from the timekeeper's booth, having a chat to the backstage, asking for a video confirmation. By the sounds that they weren't able to deliver a clear verdict at that time. So the referee says as much, makes his way to the back, leaving Joe and Ricochet in the ring. Understandably, both Joe and Ricochet are frustrated, so they just start punching each other for some reason. And although no one got left on the ground, I do believe Joe did eat a gnarly recoil from Ricochet, but yeah, like it wasn't like the double disqualification with Kofi and Randy, which then left Randy dead because Kofi decided to swing at him. It was very weird. Yeah. Wait, do I get the result of that somewhere? There it is there. Next up was a Seth and Braun backstage promo. They're having a chat in the locker room because during the moderation at the start, Stone Cold Steve Austin did tweet on social saying that although the Michael Cole may be a good presenter, he isn't a very good moderator. So then later on he tweets again saying, look, if need be, I will come to your show next week in the Madison Square Gardens, and I will moderate the contract signing between Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman. So in this backstage promo, Braun does get up to Seth's business. I was like, hey man, I saw what happened on that Skype video the other week where Stone Cold Steve Austin essentially sucked your dick for 5 minutes. You know, like, how am I not know that you're trying to bugging me out of my championship match here? Pardon me. Seth comes to the defense, being like, nah, mate. Like, I understand your paranoia. I understand your concern, because if I was in your situation, I would be the same. You know, if I was fighting for the Universal Championship, which I have been in the past, you know, like, it's valid for you to have these concerns. But Braun Strowman essentially along the lines of, look, I don't give a fuck who is moderating this thing. If it's Stone Cold Steve Austin, he tries to get in my way or tries to screw me over, he's going to get these hands. I like it. I like it a lot. 1 second. I said I do like Braun Strowman. I think he's great. I'm very excited for this match. Stone Cold is an interesting decision, but especially at such a late notice, I guess. Maybe they need a reason to sort of get some ticket sales over for Madison Square Gardens, which I believe that may be the exact case. But it's all well and good. Next, there is the Firefly Funhouse. Now, holy shit, was this kind of brilliant. Part of it was fantastic. Part of it wasn't as much. So, it starts off with Bray Wyatt standing there delivering an apology to Finn Balor once again for what happened. So I've talked about the group that is Firefly Funhouse. And then Demon Vince McMahon comes in and being like, what the fuck? Why have you booked yourself into a match at Hell in a Cell against either Seth or Braun? Context: on social media, Bray Wyatt has booked himself into a Universal Championship match at Hell in a Cell, and that's what they're going for here. So, Demon Vince is ready to be like, you're fired! He gets and then Bray's like, oh, no, look what I've got here, look what I've got here. Pulls out a big stack of hundos, and he's like, oh man, I can fix this, I got this. And then he proceeds to feed the Vince McMahon puppet money. It was absolutely spectacular. Loved it so much. And then essentially on the lines of, whatever, the Fiend, let him in, blah, blah. Then there's a cut of like digital Fiend on Bray Wyatt's face. Looks stupid. The cut footage, way better decision. It felt like a little bit of creative control was lost to Bray. But it only had to have a puppet that just feeds the fucking boss money. Absolutely fantastic. Then next we do get the result of the Joe and Ricochet match. So Corey Graves, who had left the commentators table to seek out some answers, is standing at the back there with the referee and talks about like, okay, what is the result? Baron Corbin comes in, he's like, yeah man, what's the result? Give me the result. I didn't know what's going on. Clearly they both lose. I should get an automatic free bye. Pardon me, into the finals. I should skip the semis and make my way straight to the finals. I'm very gassy when I talk to myself for an hour. And the ref's like, nah, mate. What this means is they both win. They both pinned they both pinned the other. Therefore, they both make their way through to the semi-finals of the King of the Ring tournament, meaning that next week we will see a triple threat match between Baron Corbin, Ricochet, and Samoa Joe. Interesting decision. All it is slightly more for Baron Corbin to push over a little hurdle, some challenges in his way to become King Corbin. It's an interesting decision in terms of like, well, if it's to put someone else in a good place. So it will Ricochet come out the winner, but even then, who are they protecting? Like Joe has eaten a bajillion pins before. That's not a concern. Baron has eaten a bunch of pins before. Neither of them seem to be receiving a push of any kind at the moment. So what is the benefit here of making a triple threat? The only reason I believe, or I can assume, is that Corbin's not to be in the finals. It would have to be either Ricochet or Joe, but why? Like, why would Joe need to not take the pin? Why? There's no reason there, and he's as a Healy character. Why would the outcome of that triple threat would be that Baron cost him the loss, cost him the pin, but then there's heel on heel. Why? And neither of them would be turning anytime soon because Baron won't be accepted as a face, and Joe is, although kind of technically a tweener, is a much better heel. So there's no storyline growth outside of the triple threat, either, or it's just sort of this extra threat for Ricochet to overcome into the ways of the finals. I don't know where they're going here. I personally thought, because I didn't watch it all at once, I watched about up to let's see, just after the Firefly Funhouse at work, and then I rewatched the whole show again here at home, and I was positive that I was going to give the bye to Baron. Look, I'm sure that was a lot of my personal desire in there as well, but that's where I expected it to go. It was very weird they kind of threw it on the side there. Next up, we get a very deep and personal Rey Mysterio promo. So he's talking about how he found it incredibly amazing that Dominic had been able to convince him and help him to continue within his career, as we mentioned was last week, if not the week before, where Dominic was preventing Rey from quitting, from retiring. So they go in the thing here. Rey mentions that it's interesting that as a parent, you are there to assist and to help the children get their goal, meet their dreams. Where in this case, it was the polar opposite. I do believe that this was an incredibly heartfelt promo here. I do think there was a mix, that good mix of reality and story in here. I really liked it a lot. I still don't know what it means in terms of Dominic, when he will and get in the fold. I think most likely it'll probably be in Hell in a Cell or with Clash of the maybe not the case, because I think with Clash of Champions, as long as all belts are up for grabs, then that's probably the whole, as long as every belt is there, that's fine. However, we do know that there are some additional matches that aren't title matches on the card, so maybe we'll get Dominic and Rey in Clash of Champions. I don't know who they're against. I want to say Andrade. I still think Andrade is probably the best way to go, especially if they do make it that hair versus mask match, which they probably won't. And there's not enough build up here, I don't think, with Rey, or with the storyline in general. So I think it might have to be Hell in a Cell. Certainly wouldn't be Survivor Series, and it certainly won't be TLC, unless they really want Dominic to come in looking fucking awesome, because they want him to sort of just make his way into WWE, kicking a whole bunch of butt with weapons. Next up was a match between The Miz and Cesaro. Straight up filler match here. There's no story build up here. There's no character development. There is absolutely nothing. It was just a match for the sake of there being a match. Now it is on the back of Cesaro having apparently a dope match over at NXT UK's Takeover Cardiff. But I haven't watched that. I've watched that myself. I hear it's fantastic, so I'm certainly keen to go and check it out, especially as I don't know who they are. It was interesting. As Jem says in the chat, it was a little bit of a loser versus loser match. I just don't understand why they did it. Why? But it did end in a win to The Miz with a skull-crushing finale. That's all you need to know. Next up was a match they alluded to since the start of the show, the Champion Showcase. So it was Becky Lynch as the Raw Women's Champion and Bayley, the SmackDown Women's Championship, versus Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss, the Women's Tag Team Champions. I thoroughly enjoyed this match. I'm a big sucker for all four involved, so I enjoyed it. There was a lot similar to, as I mentioned at the start of the show. Pardon me, with how the OC weren't isolating Seth from Braun. In this case, Alexa and Nikki were very much doing exactly that. They were holding Bayley very much in their corner, preventing that tag between Becky and Bayley. Awesome, loved it. A lot of hot tags between them. So just like bang bang, punch punch punch. It was absolutely fantastic. When Bayley does get the tap on Becky Lynch makes her way in. Next thing, Sasha Banks' music hits. She had a dream and that she was going to make it. She comes in, cuts to an ad break, comes back. She is ringside, just sort of being there, not getting too much of involvement initially. However, this match did go to a win to Becky and Bayley, as Sasha Banks did, in fact, make that interference. She did come in, start punching on everyone, punching, and then brings out a chair and starts wailing that chair into Becky Lynch. During this kerfuffle, Bayley comes flying in, grabs that chair out of Sasha's hand, like, what are you doing? And there's hesitation, and there's pause, and it looks as if the Bayley's about to fucking smack Sasha Banks with that chair. So in one way, it's like, oh shit. Next thing, she has a look at Becky. Oh shit, where is this going to go? Then 3, 2, 1, Bayley just starts beating the living piss out of Becky Lynch with that chair. It's finally happened, ladies and gentlemen. Bayley has turned heel. Woo-wee. I've been saying this for a while. Similar to like the John Cena's, I have used her as a person that I would never imagine to turn, mostly because her entire entire character is based so heavily around being positive, being that role model, being that character for the young girls out there. I never thought that would be the case. But it has happened. And boy, did I get excited when I saw it. Now, I was aware that this did happen. I did get spoiled for me a little bit by the social medias, but it didn't take away from it at all. I really popped hard for this. I thought it was great. Get to that moment. But that does bring us to the end of this week's episode of Monday Night Raw. In terms of a review, now once again we should also mention that if we do give something 2 Kurt Angles, doesn't mean it was perfect. It just means we didn't have too many major problems with it. We thought it was pretty good across the board, and it was 2 Kurt Angles for me. I enjoyed this episode completely. Even the Viking Raiders stuff that I normally despise, it came out pretty fantastic for me. I thoroughly enjoyed this week's episode of Raw. Aside from that Miz Cesaro match, even though it's like I don't care. I don't see where this is going. They still delivered a pretty banging match. Cesaro is good. I used to not like him only because I have no investment in him or his character. He just feels like he's always there, and I guess that comes from how he's been booked. But yeah, other than that, across the board, it was pretty solid. So those watching it in the chat, let us know what you thought of this week's episode of Monday Night Raw. But yeah, so like. There is some cool stuff here. I did like the OC sort of taking that step away and just dicking around with everybody around, trying to sort of push their way through. The King Baron Corbin always makes me happy. Even Lacey Evans had a solid match overall. I really dug it. Firefly Funhouse was on point. Thoroughly enjoyed it myself. Killer says he gave it a bar. So that's a half point. It just didn't sit well for me for the first 2 hours, he says. I stopped after that, so that final match could have made the difference. See, the start of it was fine, like compared to previous weeks where it's been kind of like slow and I did come out of it pretty happy. I thought it was overall really, really good. Compared to I am really feeling what is going to become that change, that growth, that altered delivery of Raw. Like, if we watch this compared to something we watched, say, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, the show's completely different. Promos are delivered differently. Matches feel delivered differently. And the King of the Ring tournament, as it stands, before we talk into SmackDown, like, it's going in weird directions. Like, my original bracket for King of the Ring is shot. And that's excluding what we're about to see on SmackDown. Like, it's fucked. Like, it's kind of put it on its head, and I really, really enjoyed it. One thing that was fascinating, no 24/7 championship in this week's episode of Raw. But let me have a drink of my drink, and we'll get into SmackDown. SmackDown this week took place in Norfolk. It did start off with Bayley. She makes her way in. Now, as of this stage, her music is still the same. Whack, waving inflatable arm, 2-man. It is if Bayley never changed. She comes out into the ring and she talks about how did no one see this coming. She talked about how on all the internets and all the social medias, everyone's like, oh my God, what happened to Bayley? How has Bayley changed? But she talks about that this is loyalty to her friend. So sort of like the idea that she has Sasha's back. She agrees with everything that Sasha has been saying. And Sasha, 2 weeks ago, talked about how the Women's Tag Team Championship meant nothing to her. Meant nothing. So does that mean Bayley matches these sentiments? Does she also believe that the Tag Team Champions mean nothing? I do highly doubt that. I do think that one may not be the case. But that also means some of the other bullshit she's been saying, you know, as Sasha Banks the heel. It's kind of, it retrospectively has staggeringly altered Bayley's character, and I kind of like it. Like, it is that long form storytelling that I'm really, really enjoying, because it's one of those things. If you retroactively look back at some of the things she said after WrestleMania, like, you know, all my hugs are gone, that sort of stuff, long form stuff, love it. She talks about how, you know, if the concern is, you know, what about her as a role model to young girls out there, and how her turning on Becky like this is a spit in the face of that role model thing. For her, she says it's the polar opposite. This is showing her that she is a role model for loyalty amongst friends, and through thick and thin, you support your friends, you help your friends, even if, you know, some of the thinness is questionable. I did like that a lot. That was very, very cool. He talks about, you know, Charlotte. She is the leader of selfishness in the SmackDown roster, and Charlotte comes out and she's like, nah bro, I am the queen of selfishness. And it was all very good. Next thing you know, Sasha Banks makes her way down, and then there's a bunch, and then Bayley starts jumping on Charlotte, and then Sasha comes in, she starts jumping on Charlotte too, and then Charlotte takes a whole bunch of chairs, and it was awesome. Bayley and Sasha are left standing strong, and they walk their way out, leaving Sasha Banks in the ring. Sorry, leaving Charlotte Flair in the ring. I am wondering, where can we go with this? I like heel Sasha. I'm down for heel Bayley. But what I am seeing, which I like, I do like this. We're finding a lot of teams. There's no longer just one person on one person. They're playing it smart. There feels changes. There feels change. I feel like they're pairing people up. They're creating teams. They're creating trios. They're creating potentially what could become stables. I do wonder where they're heading in that direction. But Killer also thinks, something that I was considering as well, is why do I have a feeling, he says, we're about to see face Charlotte, as in good guy Charlotte potentially teaming up with Becky for revenge. I think Charlotte is too good as a heel for them to take that away. I think, if anything, we might see the friend, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and we might have them somewhat work together. Maybe not now, but maybe later. I do know that there has been talks about the 4 Horsewomen being the main event for WrestleMania, which would be amazing. I do think we're going to see some 4 Horsewomen storylines as we head into October, when they released WWE 2K20, which does have a very strong focus on the Horsewoman storyline, especially with the showcase mode. So I think, if for those that do pick up the game and then they play the showcase and be like, oh, I haven't seen any of this before, and then you turn on your TV and bam, there it is. Like, they are actually doing a 4 Horsewomen storyline as it happens. It's just good timing that way. Next up was Ali versus Elias for the quarterfinals of the King of the Ring. Similar to Baron Corbin, Elias does come in and gets his grubby little hands all over the crown, scepter, and throne. I think he puts his guitar on there, and normally, once again, bad sign. It should also be noted that Elias's intro has changed. I believe his music may be slightly different. I don't remember. I think it is, but the Titantron is certainly different. Pardon me. Gone has the country music inspired design. The indie music is gone. It's now more of a crowd on blue with just his name, like nothing too fancy there. Match was fine. It certainly didn't go how I expected. It did end with Elias getting a win via the drift away. It's just, once again, I can't remember the specifics of the match, but in terms of what the outcome, as I said, my bracket is fucked. It's absolutely fucked. Now, I did get fucked first round by the idea of Kevin Owens losing to Elias, but even then I thought it may have been Kevin Owens versus Buddy Murphy, simply because Buddy Murphy was getting a little bit of a rub from the connection to the who killed Roman Reigns, or who tried to kill Roman Reigns story. So that part sort of threw me off, and I understand that Ali is not owed a push, seeing as he got jacked up at Elimination Chamber, but prior to Elimination Chamber, sorry. I know, it just felt weird. It wasn't weird. Yeah, it's just a weird place. I'm not sure where they're going. Next up, backstage interview with Samoa Joe. He talks about how, essentially the idea of that triple threat match next week. He's just doing a big old sell on that one. And for the first time in a long time, we get Aleister Black. He's back in his little room with his suit on. Talks about how someone needs to come and pick a fight with me. But this time, if he can't, the mountain can't come to him, he will go to the mountain. So he's essentially implying that he is like, fuck this. If, you know what, I'm going to be in the ring. I'm going to fight whoever wants to come and fight me. So he starts taking off his tie and his shirt, and he gets up and he storms out of his little room. So he's waiting for someone to knock on his door. He's like, fuck that, I'm kicking the door down. I'm moving my way through. Jem does jump in and goes, my bracket is fucked too, but I'm now siding with Corbin, taking the crown. Fuck yeah, he will. King Corbin. All hail King Corbin. Next up was Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus the Sex and Violence, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. Now, I do believe they were owed. They may have been owed this match, but I think they may have received it also recently as well. There was talk about them having a championship match for the tag team belt, and I believe this may be a build-up to that, if not a build-up to Clash of Champions. But in a interesting result, in an interesting match too, I quite enjoyed it actually. There was a lot of slagging on each other as they were wrestling. It was really quite enjoyable. I had a good time. The win did go to Mandy on Alexa Bliss. Not where I thought it was going to go. Because up until this point, Alexa and Nikki have had a pretty good and solid run as champions. They've not been, I don't even think they've eaten any losses since they've won the belt. So this I like. This caught me off guard because I was like, oh, cool, here comes, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. They're going to take that loot. They're going to take that L, and they're going to take that L hard. No siree. So I do think that really does set up some potential for Clash of the Champions, but it was fascinating nonetheless. Jeb goes, interesting. I wasn't an A on it that they're trying to push a dead team. Yeah, I guess so, but we're in the situation right now that what are they going to do? Who else is there to give a go? If you look at and without throwing random women together, they're having a tough time. The Kabuki Warriors were given a go. They didn't succeed. The Iconics are currently out with Peyton Royce on vacation for her honeymoon with Sean Spears. They're off being attractively married together somewhere. So congratulations to them once again. I'm not going to watch, but congratulations anyway. There's not a lot of women tag teams there. Now, presumably, Sasha and Bayley may go for them again, but the fact that they talked about how the belts meant nothing to them, I don't see that being a convincing story. So they're like, well, if they don't mean anything for you, why are you going for them? It's like, just so we can have them. Like, nah, mate. Nah, not feeling it, mate. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's probably about that. But that much for that one. The only other thing, because we're having this discussion at work with one of my clients who's also a big wrestling nut. What are they going to do come Survivor Series? Now, with the belt being cross-brand, and the whole idea of Survivor Series is red versus blue. It's SmackDown versus Raw. What can they do with the Women's Championship, seeing as that it is technically cross-brand? My suggestion was they bring in NXT. They with NXT being on the USA Network, they are quote unquote part of the main showing for WWE. I don't think they should be involved potentially within Survivor Series, as in it's not going to become red versus blue versus gold. I do think they may just have select few. So I think, because we know takeovers are still happening, and Survivor Series will have War Games. So there was a tag team of Rhea Ripley and someone... I've blanked out hard. I did know. I made sure to remember it before I came in here, and it's gone. But yeah, so Rhea Ripley and some other person had some demonstration as an awesome little tag team. So I think that would be very cool. Now, Rhea Ripley has also made an appearance at NXT, not UK, but regular NXT. And I do think they may want to bring her in to as they head into the USA Network, because the same goes for Breezango, who are also back now as well, and maybe looking at sort of bringing that, and maybe Pete Dunne, those sort of over to help NXT look really good when it does move to USA. Killer does Reina Gonzalez, I think that's how the last name is spelled. Yeah. It was awesome seeing some awesome finisher from them. It was very cool. Next up, we got a Joe and Gable backstage section. Gable is doing elasticy things, very similar to what we see from, what's his name? Johnny Gargano. Cool, I guess. It was fine, and talk about the idea of Joe's just getting him his business, trying to psych him out mentally, is what Joe does. Just being like, hey man, you're really short. Did you ever know that you're really, really short? Everyone's going to look at the ring and be like, how'd this small child get into this match? That doesn't seem very counterproductive to, labor laws. Why is there a child? Should he get a high seat? And he talks about how, even though you've heard this your entire life, Mr. Gable, it still hurts you. I can tell it hurts you because I can see it in your eyes. You aren't mentally strong, Mr. Gable, are you? Are you? Yeah, man. When you're about to go take on a match with Andrade, you're going to realize that size does in fact matter. You're about to get your fucking ass handed to you, mate. And then he leaves. Okay. Next up, Daddy Orton makes his way into the ring, does a little bit of promo once again, just sort of bringing down that storyline that Kofi is stupid. He's stupid. He talked about how he has been putting the boot on the power of positivity. He's been given a kick right in its positively ball bag and giving it a big stomping. Same kind of stuff that we've heard before. Nothing really stood out to me here. Then the New Day music kicks in, so we're expecting Kofi to come running out and confront him. Well, we do. Kofi does come out to confront him, but it's a little bit different. Just have the Revival there, and the Revival have got him, and they're laying down the bush train on him. Very interesting. Very, very cool. So on top of that, it should be noted, well, I this is what it was in the show. There is a Revival versus New Day match with the WWE live show in October. I do think the Revival are technically they're going to become SmackDown competitors, teaming up with Randy. I think they're going to move now with the removal of there being a draft in October. It's quite possible that we're going to see that take place. I think the hints are there for it to happen. We'll get into that a little bit later because I have a feeling that may be in the dirt sheet today. Another video package of Who Tried to Call Roman Reigns. Cool. Andrade versus Chad Gable in the quarterfinal for the King of the Ring. Good match. I'm a big sucker for Andrade, so it's fine for me. There's nothing distinctly notable about it in my head. I didn't remember any interference from Zelina Vega. The match seemed fine. Andrade did get his grubby little hands all over the crown and the throne, so okay. It was fine, if I remember right. I don't remember being bored or devastated. It just didn't hit me. I'm also quite tired right now. I'm feeling oddly really exhausted. It's weird. Pardon me. But the win did go to Chad. He did get a little sneaky roll up on Andrade, and holy shit, was Zelina Vega not happy about the result. She was shocked and awed. Baffling result. Absolutely baffling result. I knew Gable would at least get through until the quarterfinals, simply because he was versing Shelton Benjamin. Fuck Shelton Benjamin. Why is he doing anything? I say that I'm sure he's got history, but as of right now, who cares? I really didn't think Gable was going to go any further than this. I thought it was just helping to fill out the bracket, bringing it to a point where someone would get the win over him to help bring them forward. And as you know, he's a good competitor, so he would put someone in a good place to get the win. Speaking of Shelton Benjamin, next up was Aleister Black versus Shelton Benjamin. Now, this just only solidifies how no one gives a fuck about Shelton Benjamin, or should give a fuck about Shelton Benjamin. So Aleister's Black intro kicks in. He makes his way into the ring. Very, very cool. Ad break. Come back. Ding, ding, ding. Shelton Benjamin's already in the ring. It's almost like he just went and just appeared out of nowhere. He's in the ring. That's because no one fucking cares. Very relatively short match. Nothing too out of the ordinary here. It was just Aleister Black getting the beat down on someone, which makes me very happy because I want to see more Aleister Black all the time. I do still really love his work, and I love his intro. I love everything about Aleister Black. So give me more Aleister Black. But it did end with a black mass on the fucking front side of Shelton Benjamin's face. 1, 2, 3. Aleister is your winner. Jem jumps in the chat and goes, SmackDown hitting us with all the surprise outcomes, and I like that. There is part of me, as I've watched more and more wrestling, as I've dived into the back end of things and I consume more wrestling content in general, part of me is bummed because I'm starting to lose the surprise. Because, like, or part of the mystery, I guess, because even the likes of AEW, right? When we watched that, when I watched pay-per-view and they had the world championship match, and it was Jericho versus Hangman Page, and I was able to logic it out and being like, it's going to Jericho. Jericho's going to win. And part of me is that situation of quote unquote being too smart for my own good. Like it kind of numbed the victory for me. It kind of was a little bit disappointing that I would be like, oh man, I kind of spoiled the outcome for myself. And I do feel that's happening more and more as I get super involved in wrestling and breaking it down and looking at it from this way. And I'm still enjoying wrestling, of course. Don't get me wrong. I'm still enjoying it on as I watch it. But it's that I am bummed. I am debating whether I'm ruining it for myself by accident. But yeah. But next up, the point I was making, because these. The best thing about it is the King of the Ring specifically is that almost all of my predictions have been wrong at this point, and I kind of like it. I like because I was surprised. Even just right now on SmackDown, like I didn't expect Mandy and Sonya to win. Awesome. I didn't expect Chad Gable to win. Awesome. Keep me on my toes, and it's forcing me to be like, oh shit, okay. All right, and I like it. Next up was a backstage for the 24/7 Championship. We did have Drake Maverick, who is the current champion, having a discussion with Renee Michelle. She looks like she's about yelling at him or something. It was super weird. Next thing, the Singh brothers come in. They go for the pin. No success. Next thing, the B team come in. Bus. 1, 2, 3. Bo Dallas is the 24/7 champion. Okay. Reasons. They run off, continue, whatever. Next up, it's a match between Shinsuke Nakamura versus some local fuck. I wrote, who effing cares? Because this is a situation of who fucking cares. Unlike Monday with the Viking Raiders, they didn't introduce who this guy was. He was just a dude, and he was there. And to make things worse, while this beatdown was happening, we had Sami Zayn on the microphone doing horrible running commentary. It made me want to strangle him and almost made me want to turn it off. I'm like, shut the fuck up, Sami. We have commentators for a reason, and they're actually on SmackDown, they're pretty good. Shut your face. You're not helping. As a manager, your job is not to sit there and yell and be obnoxious and interrupt the match. And also, I don't fucking care about Shinsuke Nakamura. I assume that maybe at some point he may have been a big deal in NXT. He may have been a big deal in Japan. I feel like I've said this before, but I don't fucking care, mate. And you could put Sami Zayn on there as his mouthpiece, but as a mouthpiece, he's annoying the fuck out of me right now. And I just simply could not enjoy this match at all. Because the outcome, I didn't even write it down. Because who the fuck cares? Like, the local fuck ain't gonna pin Shinsuke Nakamura now, is he? It's much I fucking care. I don't. Match ends, 24/7 championship bit. During a bit of kerfuffle in the ring, Drake Maverick does happen to get the pin on Bo Dallas, so he does have the belt back. As he makes his way in, heading up the ramp, we do see a lampshade on the king cape, king robes, and he takes it off to reveal that Truth has been hiding in there. Comes out, sneaky roll up, 1, 2, 3. R-Truth is the 14-time 24/7 champion. Absolutely fantastic. Final of the night, we have the Daniel Bryan promo. He comes into the ring and he talks about how he's demanding an apology from Roman Reigns. So with Roman Reigns calling him out as a liar, claiming that, like he had an involvement in Rowan's actions as he's trying to kill Roman Reigns. He's like, I know nothing about this. It's absolute bullshit that you're accusing me of this. And one thing I hate most in this world are liars. And because I hate liars, and by you calling me a liar, that's incredibly disrespectful. And you should apologize to me. Roman enters. He's making his way down the ring. Then Roman comes in. Sorry, Rowan. This is where it's going to get confusing. Fuck. Rowan comes in, bussing down on Roman Reigns. What we got to do? Daniel Bryan gets involved as well. He just straight up picks him and fucking throws Daniel Bryan into some shit and lets a solid like fight down, right? As Roman Reigns lays on the middle of the ring, Rowan does deliver a promo, sort of solidifying everything that we've known. Like, it was him. Daniel Bryan is correct. He did act on his own accord. It's just sort of a situation that he is like, the whole idea is that Rowan isn't a henchman. He isn't the lackey for some guy. Rowan is his own man, and that's sort of what made him sort of angry here is that Daniel Bryan slapped him and beat the shit out of him. He's like, "Fuck you, man! I'm better than this. I'm way better than this." So this is why he's sort of done what he has done. Now, on a fun note, when they show the footage of Rowan pushing the stage roadie boxes onto Roman, it was like, how is it possible that this angle wasn't seen and no one has seen? Like, did they shoot it twice? Kayfabe. Or did they shoot it twice? No. This has been the plan all along. Because if you go back and watch the original video from the last week of July, you will see that the video is edited in such a way that you never see that exact shot. Very, very smart. Because I thought maybe they just did it without having a plan in mind. Because, Buddy Murphy. But it looks like they had the plan all along. Because like that original edit, you can kind of see some dude in the background, but it's very, very difficult, and it's like a 0.3 of a second little freeze frame. But during this big old promo from Rowan, he does also mention that about the match between Roman Reigns and Rowan at Clash of Champions. This was shown earlier in a graphic, so it's kind of knowing that it was coming, but it was fine. It's interesting to see because Rowan was out injured during the time that I started watching again, so I have not seen a lot of his solo work, let alone his promos, and I really enjoyed it. I did like what he had to say here and how he talked about it. It's a bit of a fan for me. That does bring us to the end of this week's episode of SmackDown Live. Overall, the show was fine, aside from the Nakamura shit. There was a lot of good surprises here that sort of pushed me and kept me interested and kind of threw me for a work. So for this reason, I'm giving it a curtain a bar. It's a good 1.5 for me. The big bummer was the Shinsuke Nakamura shit. If something gets me so agitated that I may want to turn the show off, though I have to watch it for this, that kind of says something. But let us know what you think in those comments below. The Facebook, Discord, all those places, Twitters, links are in the description below. Let me just have a drink and we'll get into the dirt sheets. And the way we do end every show, we reach out to my good friend Dash. He goes through the internet, finds all the things. Goes through all the internet, finds all the backstage information that you need to know about, compiles it in one document called the Dirt Sheet, and this is where we go. This section, Dish on the Dirt Sheet, actually have we have two big ones. First one, number one, Dave Meltzer of Figure4WrestlingOnline.com is reporting that there was a shakeup with the WWE writing team on Wednesday. The changes were said to have been brewing for some time. SmackDown writer Ryan Ward is said to be out of the position on personal leave, and a change to SmackDown has been expected due to Vince McMahon rewriting the scripts in recent weeks. So I think it's the last month, easy. Apparently the scripts are teared up on the day of shoot. Interesting stuff. Ed Koskey, the lead writer of Raw, who has been with the company for almost 20 years, will be writing for SmackDown instead, and will be working with Eric Bischoff. Jonathan Backstrom, who has been the lead writer for 205 Live, will be the new lead writer for Raw and will be working alongside Paul Heyman. Now, I do think Paul Heyman has taken a lot stronger control in the last couple of weeks, so I think maybe working alongside Paul has helped Ed, so putting him over to SmackDown might be a smart move there. Meltzer has also noted the writing team changes are being done now prior to the next Superstar shakeup in early October. As mentioned before, rumor mill has shown that there will be a draft. They have not referred to it as a Superstar shakeup. They've referred to it as a draft, where the rosters will be altered accordingly. And I do think this is a smart move in order to separate those brands ahead of the Fox USA split. Smart move, because I really don't think the wild card rule can be used across those two companies. There is enough time between the two shows to make it possible. However, I do think it is a poor decision to keep the rule in place. It's been the poor decision for a while, so there's nothing changing there. But yeah, I do think this is probably a good move. The writing staff, sure, it's fine. We'll see how it goes in practice. But I do feel there has been a pretty positive upswing in terms of how the shows have been recently. So I do think this may work in its favor. I got no major complaints there for me. One thing I just want to mention before we jump into this. There has been something that has been going around the internet as of recently, and it is your AEW champion Chris Jericho, and a clip of his backstage antics after winning the championship. So if you go watch the All Out post show, you do see him in the back room as he walks in, sees a really shitty sort of like a tray of foods for his victory and a little bit of champagne, or as he says, a little bit of bubbly. And that has taken off hard. That little clip has been memed to the shit, and it is everywhere within the wrestling internet culture community. I myself, who am normally not involved in meme culture because I'm old, has really jumped on this hard. I've enjoyed it so much. I spotted it last night when they replaced the lines in Lou Bega's Mumbo number 5. So rather than a little bit of like Michelle, a little bit of Jessica, it was all about a little bit of bubbly. Makes me your man. That was awesome. I chuckled so hard. I thought it was fantastic. I watched about 15 times. And then I woke up this morning to Nookie by Limp Bizkit. He did it all for the bubbly. It made me laugh very hard once again. We've also seen Spice Girls. There's also been a nice clip from Double or Nothing with the Rhodes brothers talking to each other. You know, that final scene where it's all like, I don't need a partner. I don't need a friend. I need a little bit of bubbly. And I fucking pissed my pants. I thought it was fantastic. Another one that I have seen, the song, I can't remember what the song was called, but you know, the ooh, just a little bit, ooh, someone plays with ooh, just a little bit, ooh, a little bit of bubbly. Died. That was too good. Absolutely too good. So Jericho has been so prominent on internet wrestling culture community right now. It's been absolutely fantastic. And as Dash says in the chat, a little bit of bubbly. So much that there is in fact a shirt available at Pro Wrestling Tees, which is just a little bit of bubbly. Just him holding a champagne bottle. And holy fuck, do I want it. I want it so bad. The problem is, as I said, Pro Wrestling Tees is very expensive. Especially with the conversion to the Australian dollar and shipping, it is a bitch. So if we were to do it, we'd have to do like a big bulk order, and even then, I don't know how much money you would save by doing bulk. It's kind of just shit. There was a sale over the All Out weekend. I just didn't take advantage of it. It was like 20% off. It would have been right handy. Killer does say it's even better when Jericho is replying to it all. That is totally the case. He is just retweeting. He's getting involved. He is just helping this thing get some momentum. Now, we talked about in the past how they've been trying to do this random fucking Shelton Benjamin zooming on his face being weird. Being all weird. Just doing this weird eye shit and whatever the fuck that was. They were trying to force some sort of meme there, where a real meme comes from genuine accident. And Chris Jericho's here, genuine accident. As I mentioned in this month's episode of Dash Culture Wrestling, with the All Out, him just being that shitty heel, and it really, really worked because it's just that like, ooh, little bubbly. I loved it, made me die. Speaking of Chris Jericho's, he has been in the news recently because of said meme, but also for a whole different event. Let's get into it. Number 2. Chris Jericho's AEW World Title was reportedly stolen in Tallahassee, Florida. The incident, not a work, was reported to Tallahassee police. A police blurb revealed the following details. The victim reported the theft of his championship wrestling belt while he was eating inside Longhorn Steakhouse. The victim stated he arrived at the Millionaire Club airport terminal and placed the belt inside his rented limousine. The limo driver shuttled the victim to Longhorn while the limo driver returned to the airport. The victim had taken the wrong luggage from the airport and the driver took it back to the terminal. When the driver picked up the victim from the restaurant, the belt was missing. Responding officers searched the limo and the airport for the belt without success. On-call CID was consulted and forensics reported to the scene. Holy crap, this is the best thing I've ever read. So regardless that he had lost the belt, that part's hysterical to begin with. The best part for me is that he lost it in the car park of a steakhouse. So like Jericho's off, he's having his post-win celebratory steak. Fucking spectacular. I nearly died when I read it. Saying that though, some of these details I felt too specific to be a work, but it was in fact a real police report. I believe Ryan Satin, Pro Wrestling Sheets, which I think is Ryan Satin, and Dave Meltzer all confirmed that it did in fact get stolen. Totally legit. And on top of that, Killer brings up a good point. You mean he wasn't having any Omaha steaks? That's true. Jericho, who proudly promotes Omaha steaks on his podcast, Talk is Jericho, didn't eat Omaha steaks. Langhorn steaks, apparently. Yeah, cool. That confirms that Ryan Satin is Pro Wrestling Sheet. I did think I got it mixed up there. But yeah, no, it's absolutely fantastic news. Yeah, once receiving confirmation that it was in fact real, mind blowing. Let's see, a representative from AEW stated, quote, "The authorities are working on it as we speak, and thank you for your concern." Next, then we did later, probably within 24 hours. So there was also a awesome promo from Chris Jericho, a little video. He was sitting in a spa bath with the fedora and the scarf on, talking about how he will be leading a private investigation into the location of the belt to find it, to bring it back, because he's El Champion, as he said. On Sunday, September 1st, 2019, American time, TPD, so the Tallahassee Police Department, responded to we should mention that the title was recovered earlier today with the Tallahassee Police Department issuing the following statement. On Sunday, September 1st, 2019, Tallahassee Police Department responded to 2400 North Monroe Street, reference a theft. Officers learned that a championship belt reported to be valued at $29,250 was stolen from a limo recently occupied by the belt's owner. On September 4, 2019, a citizen returned the championship belt to the Tallahassee Police Department headquarters, reporting that it was found, quote, along a roadway. This case has been assigned to investigators with Tallahassee Police Department's burglary unit and is still an active investigation. Investigators are asking anyone with information about the case to please call them at X amount number, whatever. If anything, it just solidifies what's fucking real. It's baffling that the belt, the cost of that belt, $30,000 belt. Holy shit, that's so expensive to carry around. It is stunning. I imagine it is only one of them. And it kind of makes me wonder, like, you know, this is how you can tell that it wasn't a work, because why would you put a Grand Larson case out there for $30,000 for a belt? Holy shit. Saying that the AEW belt is beautiful. I've come around to it the more I look at it. But like, what is the value of the WWE belts? Really? Like, they're no way as fancy looking. They can't be worth as much, right? Chris Jericho then later posted a video with the following. Quote, "In less than 24 hours since I launched a worldwide investigation into finding my missing championship title, it has been returned to me. And it's not because of law enforcement agency that was too busy posting pictures to Twitter, then deleting them, then posting them again, or a funny gif. It's because of me. It's because I put the fear of God into those who robbed me, who committed grand larceny." Jericho then continued, "As I sit here in my palatial estate, in my beautiful mansion, drinking a little bit of the bubbly, I once again demand, and rightfully so, a thank you from the entire AEW fan base, roster, office, backstage, and across the board, because I did what I told you what I was going to do. I got my championship back, and I'm never going to lose it again. You're welcome." What an awesome couple of days it has been, like, following this whole story. It's awesome. It's stupid. It's fantastic. Loved it. Loved every minute of it. And if this does, in years to come, happen to be a work in the same way that, the CM Punk pipe bomb turned out to be a work later down the line, I wouldn't even be mad that that's what it came to. I was so incredibly impressed by this. I'm not even mad. Even if it's just advertising, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. But let us know what you thought of this week's dirt sheet. Once again, comments below, Discord, Facebook, Twitter, all those places. Links are in the below areas. But that we are at the end of the show. Thank you very much for sticking through once again with me by myself, having a chat to you lovely people. You know, it's a tough doing this for an hour and a half ish by myself. My mouth is dry, my eyes are hurting, my brain is caning. It's tough talking by yourself for this long without some sort of distraction. Like, I can stream this long without any too major issues because the game's there. It's covering me. It's helping me out. I don't know how people can podcast by themselves. It's very difficult. But this wrestling conversation took place on a Friday morning at 8 a.m. on that podcast services, 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. But if you want to join that wrestling conversation, head over to the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/the-pop-culturist. There is the Discord channel. There is the Twitters. There is the thing, all the things, links in the description below. If you want to join that wrestling conversation as it happens, head over to popculturist.com. Don't go there. Go to patreon.com/thepopculturist. Pardon me. Sign up, support us, become a patron at any dollar value, and you can watch us record this show live as we do it currently every Thursday night. So that's any dollar value. You get yourself a nice little sneaky link in your inbox. You can come and join the Wrestling Chats party with us. But if you want to support us in a more once-off fashion, you can head over to thepopculturist.com/shop. We can buy shirts like this one and other assorted shit with our logos on it. Now, if I was smart, I should have put together a little bit of Bubbly shirt. And I think I may reach out to our good friend over at Pixel Beast to maybe put something together for us, even just for me, because it makes me giggle. But we are also on Twitch at twitch.tv/thepopculturist. And the morning that this goes live on Friday, the 6th of September, I will be streaming tonight. new game from so the beta for the latest Ghost Recon game. That's Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Thank you to Ubisoft Australia. We'll be jumping into that beta, sharing some time with it, playing with a good friend of the show, Max, who will also be joining me in this week's episode of For the Players. As Josh is out, he is off being part of his sister's wedding. He's not marrying his sister, he's being a bridesmaid. So it's the all Ryan show again this week, and a sort of guest-ish, because we did have Max come through last week. And we should also mention, we do fail to mention this, if you are still listening to this on podcast services, please give it a 5-star review. Please give it the little written stuff in the bottom saying this show is fantastic. It is better when Jem's here, but Ryan does an alright job by himself. That would be a pretty sweet review. Even if you're watching now and you haven't done it yet, please go do it on your iTunes or your podcast service of choice. It does help us move up there and get us into a good place, because as we do head towards October with WWE Live, we do want to try do something with them here. I'm hoping to talk to the likes of, say, 2K Australia to see whether I can swing anything, but as of right now, I'm not sure how it's going to go. But anyway, until next week, I'm Ryan Betson. This is The Young and the Restless, and we'll see you then.